And when you're talking about his blood, you're talking about my blood. So now we have a problem.
What's up, everybody? This is episode 3 of the MIKKIMANIA podcast. As you saw, that was the slap heard across the world. Dwayne decided to lay his hands on the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, this past Thursday in Vegas. We'll get into that later on in the podcast. I wanted to be able to catch up with a little bit of other promotions. More importantly, AEW and WWE. They're the only two really right now that have hot stories going on. I wouldn't say much for AEW on storylines, but don't get mad about that if you're AEW, Mark. Here I go with the ums. Fucking A. So we're going to start off with AEW. They got a few things going on coming up for their episode, but also they got some news regarding a big show, March 13th. I should know because Tony Khan just repeats it several fucking times when he's talking. We heard you the first time. I get it. But big business is going to be an event that is free on cable television for AEW. A lot of hints, a lot of speculation on who is going to show up. They do have some free agents that are currently on the market. Okada, Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, Will Ospreay are the three big, free agents. They're not going to be going to WWE most likely. I know WWE did push to try to get Okada, but things may have fell through. Okada has more ties into AEW than he does with WWE. Being friends with the young fuck Bucks, no one cares about them. But anyways, the hint that I noticed, most people should have noticed for the big business show, on their promo background, whatever it is, you can see it's Boston, but it's BOSS stun. Obviously, it's clear as day that it's going to be Mercedes Moné, a.k.a. Sasha Banks. So, expect her to show up March 13th. It should be interesting. I'm hoping, she helps move a needle for them because as of lately, their ticket sales are atrocious. Like it's just beyond bad. It's just not good. But that's another topic. But I wanted to get into some matches that haven't been announced for Revolution, which will end up being Sting's last match, which makes me very fucking depressed. But it's okay. He's had a good career, and it's about that time. But we're gonna start with Daniel Bryan versus Eddie Kingston. That match was announced last Wednesday. Real confusing on, I guess what it's for. I do recall Bryan calling Kingston a bum. And so Kingston went on about saying, well, if I beat you, you got to shake my hand after the match. So I'm assuming it's a handshake match. I don't know what the fuck that is. But if that's what it is, cool. Danielson always has great matches. I'm not too crazy about Eddie Kingston's in-ring work. He's great on the mic, phenomenal on the mic. Honestly, he's very real, and you can relate to him, which is, you need that as a character in wrestling. You need to be able to relate with them, feel what they go through, understand what they go through, etc. But that should be hopefully a good match. I see Brian carrying the whole match. This is what I see for that one. But we're going to move on to Sting and Darby winning the tag team titles off of Ricky Starks and Big Bill. I was reading some information on that Sting wasn't too high on winning the tag team titles. More importantly, his whole career, apparently, he wasn't too, crazy about winning tag team titles. But they went with the win for Darby and Sting to win the titles. And Sting said he felt completely different after. He said it did make him very happy. His mind changed, I guess maybe because he's starting to realize his career is coming down to that, it's coming down to that end. So maybe winning those tag team titles with Darby did something for him. Start making him realize, it's the important things, it's the small things that he'll be able to carry on with his career. And him and Darby have had a great run. I'm very happy that him and Darby have been a thing for years. I had wanted Sting to have a one-on-one match for his retirement match, and I think, Darby was probably the best option. But Sting says that he doesn't think that having a one-on-one match is, best for him. He thinks that, a tag team match would be more fitting for him, because tag team matches, the other person can carry the match for you while you come in, do a few moves, all your typical moves that you would do, and then that's the match. Sadly, but this is Sting's pick. They will be facing the Young Bucks at Revolution. I'm not too hyped on that, but that's what Sting wants, and if that's what Sting wants, then I'm okay with it and I'm cool with it. I have no problem with it. Anyway, as well, if you hear loud noises in my background, just know it's my upstairs neighbors. They're fucking annoying. And if they ever see this video or come across this video, go fuck yourself, because your dog is loud, you're loud, and I'm fucking had it. Okay? Anyways, I don't know if you can hear that. The dog's howling right now. It's ridiculous. Anyways, for the love of fucking God, Forbidden Door 3 has been announced. I did not check to see when the date was. Last time they had it was in June. So I'm not too sure when this one will be. I've talked with a few people about it. The CMLL will be possibly showing up. They're coming from AAA. So once more information comes out about that, we'll talk about that a little more in depth. And last but not least, when it comes to AEW, things came out about Edge, Adam Copeland, and AEW, and Eddie Kingston rubbing talent the wrong way. Granted, I was told this came from Brandon Cutler, so it's not something you should take seriously, but we've seen this before with AEW, where Adam Page, I guess, was refusing advice from the legends and people that are been doing this way longer than him. I think the same thing was with Jack Perry too. They just they feel like they know everything. They got this business down to a T, so they're just gonna go about how they feel about it. Interesting, but if that's the case, that Edge, and Eddie Kingston are rubbing talent the wrong way and it's upsetting them, I think you just need to get lost, man. You need to go fucking touch some grass or something. And it's you have, I'm not going to say for Eddie, but an Edge, a legend who's been doing this longer than half that roster besides Sting. It's ridiculous. It's I feel like if I was in that locker room and on that roster, I feel like Edge is the first person I'm going to talk to about hey, what can I do better? What can I progress in? Where should I, fix some things? that's who I'm going to. I'm not going to anybody else. Maybe, Bryan Danielson, Sting, and shit. That's about it. I know Mark Henry maybe with them still in the back, maybe. I don't know. But there's just certain people that, if you're young and you have these legends around you, take advantage of that. Like, pick their brain. All the people that are in NXT all pick the brain of Shawn Michaels, the person that's head creative over there. And the talent shows on NXT. They show it. You see it because they want to learn. They're not, trying to go into business for themselves. They're not trying to act like they know everything. They're all learning. It's all a learning experience, and you should take advice from, I would say, your elders, but in this case, for professional wrestling legends. But that should be it for AEW. I didn't really have much down for them this week. Tonight is Monday Night Raw. Should be coming on in about 30 minutes. This is being filmed at 6:34, but prior to that. But we have some matches from last week that happened. Elimination Chamber qualifying matches. The opening match of SmackDown was AJ Styles and Drew McIntyre. I understood that Drew is most likely going to win the World Heavyweight Championship from Rollins because the chamber match for the men's, the winner of that will go on and face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. And so far, only Drew and Randy have qualified. Drew beat AJ, and then Randy beat Sami Zayn in the main event of SmackDown. As expected, I wasn't too surprised on those two matches at all. More importantly, on Drew. Randy, I don't know what his plans are going to be for WrestleMania-wise because I don't see him winning the Chamber. I only see Drew winning the Chamber. Like, I don't see anybody else winning at all. But we'll see how that goes and plays out. As for the women's, the winner of that Chamber match will go on to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Io Sky and Bayley have already been confirmed, so that's a done deal. So we'll get on with the women's matches. Belair beat Michin, or I don't know how to say her name. Not surprised. Belair is going to go over for that one. You need Belair in that Elimination Chamber match. Nothing against Michin, but that's just how it's going to go. Let's see. I believe that was it for the women's qualifying matches. I thought I had wrote something down more, but I guess not. Another thing, speaking of Io Sky and Bayley, Dakota Kai, who is also a part of Damage Control, came back this past Friday telling Bayley, hey, you've been ignoring my calls, you've been avoiding me and dodging me, what's going on? They're all in the ring. The rest, I don't want to say Damage Control, but the Kabuki Warriors and Io Sky all came out and surrounded Bayley, Dakota Kai included. It seemed like Dakota was going to turn. Dakota ended up helping Bayley with a steel chair, fending off the Kabuki Warriors and Io Sky. So that's good news for Bayley because I was thinking her going into WrestleMania just being a loner. That's not good. It's not going to bode well for her. I mean, clearly Bayley would find a way to get over and win at WrestleMania, but this does give her some help and some leadway going into Mania with having some backup because she was going to need it. 3 against 1. I mean, this is 3 against 2. Still uneven, but I'm not sure who else could come back to help Bayley out at all. But as of tonight, Monday Night Raw, I did go look up the qualifying matches for tonight. And starting off, they got Liv Morgan versus Zoe Stark. If you're wondering why I had to add some static in there, I was rudely interrupted. I have this Bluetooth light bulb that I use for my lighting, and someone in my apartment complex keeps connecting to that shit. and their shit went off right when I was about to finish off talking about what I was talking about. But anyways, we're moving on. Sorry for that. I felt like I needed to mention it because at times I'm gonna have problems like this living in an apartment. People are just fucking annoying as fuck, and I can't seem to figure that part out right now. But anyways, as I was saying, Liv Morgan, Zoe Stark, Elimination Chamber qualifying match. I see Liv going over. She just returned at the Royal Rumble. There's no reason for Zoe Stark to go over in this match. Nothing against her, but that's just how I see it. That's just the way I see it going. Going forward, we got, for the men's qualifying matches, we got Bronson Reed versus Bobby Lashley. That one's kind of unpredictable right now because Bobby does need to find his way back into a title picture. I'm not sure how they're gonna do that. Bronson Reed is, I want to say not, he's up and coming, but he's a new monster type, superstar they got going on in the business right now for WWE. So between Bobby and Bronson, man, that's tough for me. I would have to put Bobby over. I think Bobby in the Chamber would be a little more interesting, for him to go after the World Heavyweight Championship for Seth Rollins. But that match really can go either way. So there's no telling where that match is going to go. And then we got LA Knight versus Ivar. Not too sure about that one. I'm positive LA Knight's going to go over in that match. This past Friday, I forgot to mention, though, about the Drew and AJ match. Right after AJ Styles' entrance, LA Knight, music hit, he comes out, he's doing commentary. Later on in the match, for some reason, LA Knight gets onto the apron, is distracting the ref. Drew is like wobbly. AJ Styles notices that LA Knight's on the apron. He goes and hits LA Knight off the apron. Soon as he turns around, Claymore straight to the goddamn dome. Took AJ Styles out. Drew wins the match. So, does AJ Styles show up and interfere in LA Knight's match on this coming night? Not too sure. That would be quite interesting if he does. But I don't see it happening. I see LA Knight going over in this match. I don't see Ivar being involved in anything that would involve a World Heavyweight title run or just anything in that, category for him. He just, nothing against him, but he's a tag team. He's a tag team superstar. He's not someone that's going to be on a crazy singles run right at the moment. But that should be the most recap for wrestling stuff that's happened throughout since last week. I didn't get to really keep up with much this past week. I had a lot of stuff going on, so sorry about that if that was the case, if that wasn't enough wrestling information for you. But the most important topic, as I talked about in the beginning of the video, the press conference, the WrestleMania press conference that happened in Vegas last Thursday, got real hot. It got heated, man. A lot of people were curious what was going on. I know when we saw my last video where I was going in on that fucking big, bald, raggedy bitch, Dwayne Johnson, since he thought he could, find his way back into WrestleMania and get a spot, so-and-so. The press conference started with Seth Rollins. It was going to be the main four. It's going to be Seth Rollins, Dwayne, Roman, and Cody. That was going to be the press conference. Started with Seth Rollins. He's talking, getting major pops from the crowd. And, he calls out Cody. He needs to know Cody's decision. He needs to know who he's going to face and who he's going to pick at WrestleMania. Seth has been just bugging at Cody, saying, you need to face me. I'm the one you need to go against at WrestleMania. You don't want that politic Hollywood title that Roman's holding. Yada, yada, yada. He made a good case, but it's like, come on, man. Cody beats you 3 times. once with a fucking torn pec in a Hell in a Cell match. There's no need for this match. This match does not need to happen. If anyone needs this match, it's Seth, because he's lost to him 3 damn times. But anyway, as he's calling out Cody, Roman Reigns' music hits. Roman Reigns comes out, starts going in on Seth a little bit, clowning him, telling him that's your title doesn't mean shit. He's been saying that. He said that not this past Friday, but the Friday before that, he had some choice words for him. Just degrading that championship title, man. But anyway, Roman saying, well, since Cody's not going to make no decision, it's in my hands to make the decision now. So I'm going to pick who I'm going to face at WrestleMania. And he says, he says The Rock, but Dwayne. He says he chooses Dwayne to face at WrestleMania. As soon as he says that, out comes the big, bald, raggedy bitch, Dwayne. He comes out. Crowd is very mixed. They're cheering in the beginning. As he starts to talk, the crowd starts to turn a little bit, as he was calling the Cody crybabies, which I guess I'm a Cody crybaby. Fuck it, I don't care. Use your little lame ass shtick that you've been using in your corny ass jokes. But y'all fall for that. Y'all can have that shit. I don't want that no more in wrestling. But as he's talking, he mentions a few things. It seems like he's trying to get the crowd to give him a reaction, saying, "Do you think Roman Reigns is gonna beat me at WrestleMania?" Crowd very mixed, more boos than cheers. Then he says, do you think I myself is going to beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? Same thing, mixed crowd, not too sure. Then continues to ask them, do you think Roman Reigns versus me will be the biggest WrestleMania match in history? Crowd for sure booed hard, if I'm not mistaken. I'm clear as day. I heard a lot of boos. Moves on to the next thing. He pulls up a family tree of the whole Samoan dynasty. In the very top, he had his grandfather, and then he had Roman's grandfather at the top. So I understand that there is story to to Dwayne and Roman, being with the family, with being the head of the table. That's really what their whole beef would be about going forward. As he took the tree down, I came off the screen. Roman and Dwayne come together, shake hands as if an agreement on the match that they're going to have. Soon as they do that, next thing you know, you hear someone touching on a mic. It's Cody, and he says, "This right here is bullshit," and he's not wrong. He goes on to tell Roman Reigns that I choose you at WrestleMania 40 for the WWE Championship. Crowd gets crazy. We're getting what we want. We're not going to get fucking Dwayne versus Roman. We'll save that shit for next year, because none of that matters right now. I understand that's a good storyline. I understand that's a marquee match for WrestleMania, but not this year. I understand Cody and Roman went back, last year, and Cody lost. But Cody lost for a reason, so we can build to this next story, which has been told so well. Cody's a bigger star than he was last year. He's crazy over more this year than he was last year. So it makes sense for this match to be Cody and Roman. I get the whole Rock thing and Dwayne or whatever, I get it. But it's not this time. It's not this year. Save that shit for next year. As Roman and Cody kind of, back and forth, Cody Cody had told them, he's like, for the last 2 years, y'all ain't been doing none of the cooking at all. And more importantly, he can say that for Dwayne, because Dwayne ain't fucking been around for 8 years. Roman barely does show up for matches. He's a every few pay-per-view kind of guy. He's had a few title defenses. He has had none this year, I believe. Oh no, I'm sorry, he did have one this year at the Royal Rumble in the Fatal 4-Way match. That was his first one of the year, which seemed like it ruffled Roman and Dwayne a little bit. Roman had brought up Cody's father, saying that you were last year's big news. You're nothing now. You're irrelevant, just like your father. Looked like it pissed Cody off a little bit. Cody goes on to say to Roman and Dwayne that if your grandfather was here and the High Chief, talking to Dwayne, was here, it would be ashamed of you. Looked like it pissed off Rock a little bit. He gets up to Cody's face and tells him, when you're talking about his family, you're talking about my family. You're talking about his ancestors. You're talking about my ancestors. So he goes on to tell him, now we have a problem, and just bitch slapped Cody into next week. I was pissed. I was fucking mad. I'm like, this son of a bitch just slapped the American Nightmare like that. You son of a bitch. You don't do that. But man, that press conference just was everything that I think they needed. I'm not sure if they were just pivoting away from their terrible decision they had made. It still adds a lot of confusion for why Cody came out, is telling Roman, hey, I'm gonna face you. I want that title. I want to take everything from you, but not at WrestleMania. And then we got the very next week on this press conference, Cody comes out, interrupts, say this is bullshit. He says, I'm challenging Roman. It draws some confusion in there. To me, it seems like they had to pivot into this new storyline because something seemed off, and they're probably never going to explain why Cody came out and said that, but we're just gonna have to wait and see how it goes. It is 3 minutes till Monday Night Raw will be starting pretty soon. I gotta get catching up on that. As of last night, I was playing SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. I wanted a little bit of nostalgia last night, but I wanted to leave y'all with my top 5 wrestling games of all time. Starting off with number 5, I would have to say SmackDown vs. Raw 2005. The first one. I mean, I fell in love with the game like immediately when it first came out. It was everything it needed to be at the time. Roster was not that great. Roster was kind of small. It wasn't like crazy big. They had some great legend options on there, but not too many. As for number 4, I would have to say WWF WrestleMania 2000 for the Nintendo 64. Man, I spent countless hours on that game. I mean, countless hours on that game as a kid. It was just one of those games. This one had came out before No Mercy, which is still considered one of the greatest wrestling games of all time. But as for my next one, number 3, I would have to say, man, I've always kind of been torn between this one. Oh man, I didn't write this down. I just like to go off, shoot from the hip with this one. At number 3, I probably would have to say SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. Soundtrack, roster, everything. It had everything. There's no way this game did not have everything. GM mode was still an option, which is a big thing. GM mode is probably one of my favorite modes the wrestling games had ever had, which they started it in 2006. They had it in 07, 08. I think they took it out in 09. They went with a different direction. but not surprised by that. They were changing very rapidly around that time. Yeah, number 2, I would have to say SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, which I know a lot of people will comment and say, yes, that was their favorite. They grew up playing that game quite a bit. That game changed a lot for wrestling, because going forward, before that it was Shut Your Mouth. So there's like wondering, like, how can they make it better? How can we progress? And sure enough, they did not disappoint, because right after Here Comes the Pain, SmackDown vs. Raw, the first one came out, which they did a decent job, going from Here Comes the Pain, because Here Comes the Pain was so damn good, going into SmackDown vs. Raw. It wasn't as good, but it was still something to play at the time, last but not least, number 1, as I mentioned earlier, WWF No Mercy. Man, I couldn't tell you. I spent a lot of hours on WrestleMania 2000 and pretty much all these other games I've talked about, but No Mercy, anybody and everybody that would, if you're a wrestling fan and you're watching this, can relate and say that they spent most of their childhood fucking playing that game. There was no way you weren't. That game had it all, man. I know I've said that about all the other games. I know that's a repetitive thing I just said, but if you've played WWF No Mercy, you know. So, yeah. I appreciate you, everybody, for tuning in. I want y'all to leave in the comment section, though, of y'all's top 5 wrestling games of all time. It can be any. It can be WCW. It can be the one ECW game they had for the Nintendo 64. It can be whatever you want it to be. Anything from Sega, all of it. Super Nintendo, Game Boy, whatever the fuck else they came out with, GameCube, you name it. You let me know what it is, and I'll see y'all back here this coming weekend. Thank you.